if you look at porn, it's the opposite. You know, it's often violent, not loving. There's no need for love in porn. There's, you know, it causes addiction instead of building like a bond. It's just the opposite. It's degrading. I mean, I know these sex acts. I've read about them. I can't even tell you on this podcast what they are. They're so degrading. You would edit them out. So, when you look at that, you see that there's this divergence between healthy sex and porn sex. The other thing that is interesting and has been documented through research is a phenomenon called porn-induced erectile dysfunction, or PIED. And I think every 14-year-old boy should know about this. Basically, you get so topped out on porn that you're not sexually aroused by your own physical partner. Even if you love that person, even if you were attracted, even if they're attractive, you have to have porn. Your brain has to have porn. And so if porn has to be the third partner in your marriage, and you have to watch porn to even get aroused to have sex with your partner or your spouse, that's a problem. That's a problem. And, you may hear of people getting divorced, but they probably don't tell you why. But I have women coming up to me all the time telling me, this is exactly what ruined my marriage, sometimes in tears. And so I've just heard so many of these stories. They're everywhere. Honestly, if you were actually able to see how many of the people that have gotten divorced, you would start to see that porn is a huge problem. Porn is not a good partner for a marriage, or it doesn't help you have it does not promote healthy sexual intimacy. It promotes the opposite, the absolute opposite.
How are boys versus girls affected? Is there much of a difference?
Yeah, I do think there is a difference. I do. But there's not as much of a difference as people think. So if you ask the average person, maybe on the street, or maybe the average parent, I don't know, there's a gap. And the researchers call it a naivete gap. It's a gap between what is actually happening with their kids and what the parents think is happening with their kids. So parents are getting, for example, and I'm not sure this is answering your question. But this morning I went to have a medical test, and the technician we got talking about some things, and she found out that I'd written these books, and she goes, oh, well, maybe I should think about that. I've got a 12-year-old son, and I might need to be talking about this with him in the next few years. And I tried not to laugh. I didn't laugh. I just said, oh, no. He's already seen porn. He's already looking at it with his friends. So you need to start these conversations right away. And she goes, oh yeah, his friends are terrible. And I'm like, well, parents are just, and I think that's starting to change because the younger parents have grown up with this, right? But there's still a lot of parents. Like this woman was probably in her mid-30s, and she did not realize the risk to her 12-year-old son. And that was just this morning. But this is a constant that I'm seeing out there, is just not understanding. And this is another thing that's also, there's a new book out called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt.
Very good.
Haidt. Yeah. And so he documents the same thing. He says parents are much more worried about their kids' physical safety, and they overprotect kids physically, and they totally underprotect them online. So it's, and I don't shame parents. I really don't. But it is a problem when there's this disconnect. And it's something I fight all the time, trying to get parents to think about prevention. Not preventing all exposure, because that's just not going to happen, but preventing a kid getting pulled into it. Giving them some tools and some knowledge so that they can report it when they see it, and they have an ally in you as a parent to, keep better control of their curiosity. But you asked about girls versus boys. So I'm going to go back and say girls are as curious about sex as boys are. And they are very interested in being attractive. And So, and they're very interested in relationships. So girls go to porn through books, through erotic literature, through stories, and often through anime, cartoon porn. So this doesn't feel as real to them, right? It's a little softer. But they often end up just where the boys start, which is the videos. So they may come to it in a different way, but they are still vulnerable. In fact, girls are often more vulnerable because parents don't think that their girls will be a problem. I have so many people that say, oh, well, I have all girls, so I don't really think this is a problem. Or I have all boys, so yes, this is a problem. Like, it doesn't matter.